What's going on, folks? MMALOTN live, episode number, who knows what the fuck, but it's been a while since we've been doing this live version of the podcast. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting your boy on these live streams, whether they're Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I always try to aim for this time slot of Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and luckily I was able to complete all the tape study required to ensure that I can give you guys the best information possible, especially yesterday for the stream and show that I did with Clint from Die Hard MMA podcast. It was a blast over there. Always great chemistry when I run through the card with my boy Clint. So always looking forward to going back onto his show. And yeah, nothing has really changed for me in terms of what I was saying on that show and what I'll be saying on this show, other than I've done a little bit deeper of a dive on the Kyler Phillips and a Holly and Paiva fight. So I can't wait to get around to that fight to break that down for you guys a little bit more. Great event last time. We'll talk about the betting recap real quick, but I do quickly want to see what the chat is saying here. Shout out to everybody that got in here nice and early. Obviously, my guy Olajuwon Dream, nice and early. My guy's playing some 2K as well while he's watching this, so I appreciate you stopping by. Rexley, letting y'all know, hardest working man in the business. I try to do my best. Dan Goldstein is saying where Montana Del Rosa did the smart thing and had a baby nice and early is the opposite for Goldy. If you ain't dropping one right out of high school, I gotta fade you. Belbita myself. I love it. That's gonna be one of the first fights we obviously get into. So obviously you'll be hearing my thoughts on that very shortly. Cody Eberle is on a little bit of in a rush, it seems like. Jesus, chill out, dog. I'm here. TX Duhawk is saying Lockhouse right before the Bucks hopefully thump the Suns and kick my parlays off my kind of Tuesday night. I actually got a little bit of a wager on the Suns tonight, so I'm going to be against you. But again, this is based on almost nothing because, as you guys know, I don't cap and NBA. I'm pretty much just an MMA guy. But I'm hoping that the Suns actually pull it off and we get a game 7. Let's see what the rest of the chat is saying. Ryan Grant saying Locke taking longer than Max Griffin did shooting the takedown. The guy waited until fucking round 3. Luckily, it bailed us out and it helped secure that takedown. But glad that it came out. Hayden asking where was propping you up last week. Me and Cody had some scheduling conflicts. We're trying to work it out to make sure that we can continuously keep doing it. But you guys will hear about that as soon as I can confirm some stuff for you guys. But as of right now, we are on for Thursday. But I'll let you guys know if anything changes. Peter Houghton saying Locke is taking longer than the Undertaker walking to the squared circle. Don't kill me. I love it. Mixed Partial Fraud saying he's getting high real quick before the stream. I can't do these full out breakdown shows ripped. There's no way I can do it. Absolutely not. So those are strictly saved for the Lucky Late Night episodes. Let's see what else the chat is saying. Then we'll get into the card for you guys. Okay, is asking for Aldo Munoz quick pick. Early lean is Aldo, but again, I'm not. I don't even know if I'm going to be touching that fight, to be honest. Joseph Nussbaum in the chat. What's going on, my brother? The African in the chat. What's going on, guys? Tom Stout. What's up, Locke? Good card. Let's make some money. That's the plan. Kung Dao Chicken in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by. Joseph was saying, I really enjoyed your show last night with Clint. Yeah, me and him always kick it off real nice. He's a jet. MMA Aiden saying Elkins round 3. I like that spot right there. That's another good thing. Last night we didn't have props fully available to us. Now we do, so I can definitely break it down a little bit better for you guys. MMA experts in the chat. What's going on, AJ? Appreciate you stopping by. Let's see what else the chat is saying here. Babs Betts saying spoken one for you right now, brother. I appreciate it. Maybe after I do this, I got to finish recording my pre-recorded episode of the MMALOTN. But after that, I'm going to be definitely hitting that and then putting together a tape index update for anybody that's on the tape index there. Josh Shergill in chat. Appreciate you stopping by, my brother. Joshua Gus say nothing better than coming home from a ball run and listen to my boy Locke. I love it. I love it. Yeah, so I can't get over the excitement. I just secured a spot to go see Cannonier versus Gastelum at the Apex on August 21st. It's going to be my first time back to Vegas since Conor versus Aldo. If you guys can see this, start my ticket year. Conor versus Aldo UFC 194 back in 2015. So been about 6 months since I've been there. Or sorry, 6 years since I've been there. Really looking forward to going back. But the one thing that I've wanted to do ever since this whole COVID situation began and we started getting fights at the Apex, I've always wanted to go to the Apex and watch high level fights with a small crowd. And that's exactly what's going to be happening on the August 21st. I'm so happy that the UFC is actually opening it up to allow fans to come in. It's a little bit of a hefty price, but you'd have to go through UFC VIP experiences to actually get a spot on there. But yeah, I can't wait. The way that I kind of like relate it or compare it to, it's kind of like watching Dave Chappelle at a 150 seat arena. You know what I mean? You're getting a high level mixed martial arts, even though it's a fight night, high level mixed martial arts with a small crowd. That's what I want. That's what I'm getting. And that's exactly what I'm excited for August 21st. So I'm going to be heading out to Vegas. I got to figure out what I want to do in terms of my streams for that week. I'm going to be going the Thursday night. Friday, the Ultimate Weigh-In show, I'm probably going to do from there, but I want to figure out a way that I can do it so it kind of incorporates Vegas in a certain sense. Maybe do it from a bookie or something like that, or a I don't know, those sportsbook lounges that they have in Vegas. Maybe do it from there, or something like that. I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to it. I want to go to the weigh-ins in the morning. I want to do all that shit. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking to secure tickets for 266 whenever those go on sale, because I want to hit up all the MMA events as much as I can over the next couple months. Double vaxxed up, ready to go. I can't fucking wait. So yeah, August 21st, I'm going to be heading out to that show. Just over a month away. Really looking forward to that. All right, let's get back into what the chat's saying, and then I'll begin the show as normal. My guy Kung Dao Chicken, sorry, missed a couple guys here. D-Re saying great breakdowns with Clint yesterday. Appreciate you guys. We appreciate you just as much, brother. Harmon Soraya in the chat. What's going on, buddy? Sage Law. What do you think about Minner versus Elkins? I'll be going over that in a couple fights. Stick around, my guy. Kung Dao Chicken. Fun fact on Imavov's Instagram, he posted a picture of him breaking his hand 13 weeks ago, so he only started training recently for his fight. Yes. That is correct. Apparently, he had surgery on his hand not too long ago, so I'm sure that will affect his potential knockout power. Maybe we'll talk about it when we get to the breakdown. Dan Goldstein saying Brady and Wheezy versus Clint and Manfred steel chair ladder match. I'm in. Craig Christ in the chat. What's going on, my guy? Loving the JRE shirt. Yes, sir. Always got to support some JRE. Krent Heisenbudo saying, where are you expecting the Sandhagen Dillashaw line to close? Should I wait to bet Dillashaw? I think you should wait. Joseph was saying, what's the lean on the Cannonier fight? Lean is Gaslam, but no real strong read there yet. ZW saying, how much are tickets to the Apex? It's in the 4 digits. Let's put it that way. It is a hefty price for sure, but totally worth it for the experience. Robert Sellers saying we live stream from there. That'll be dope. Ryan Grant is saying let's do it from the roulette table. Great Cornholio, you were there for Conor Aldo. What a time in history to be there in the Golden McGregor era. The whole pub where I was at lost their shit. Yeah, I had a ticket on Aldo that night too, if I'm not mistaken, and I was absolutely speechless after Conor stiffed him as quickly as he did. That week also was a big fight week for the UFC because they actually had 3 events for like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. I went to the event on Thursday night, which was Rose versus Paige as the main event. I think Thiago Santos fought Elias Theodore that night as well. And then the next night was Chad Mendes versus Frankie Edgar. We didn't go to that one. We actually ended up going to the Joe Rogan show that was that night, but we did watch the fights at a bar just before jumping into the Rogan show. But then obviously we went to the Conor Aldo card. ZW saying you should check out Meow a Wolf in Vegas. Don't know what that is. James Vidala saying, love you, man. Enjoy Vegas. Fight should be so sick. Can see a Gaslam KO. I know, right? Should be great. Zach Polito is saying, if you're going to be betting well in Vegas, you absolutely need to do it at Circa, one of the only books in Vegas with good UFC props. Yeah, of course. My guy Nick Kalikas helps run Circa over there, so I'll definitely go over there and make some bets and say what up to him for sure. Belbita saying Vegas books suck, MGM and other venues are horrible. Again, 2015, I wasn't betting super heavy. I remember I made a bet, I made a couple tickets before going into the Conor Aldo card. Cashed a couple of them. I did also cash Frankie Edgar over Chad Mendes the day before. But it's so cool and so like it's foreign to me to go to a casino and bet on, on fights like that. I always do it through my phone and stuff, right? But I know a lot of you guys are in states where you actually have to go to the bookie and all that. So I completely understand that. But yeah, I'm going to take advantage of being there and, excuse me, and actually betting on fights live in person. Peter Houghton is saying Khabib live stream without me jokes. That is hilarious. Tito Hawk is saying I went to Vegas with the wife and mad at myself for not hitting up the Superbook. Most of the strip books were pretty meh. Interesting. I'll check that out. Ali Amoud is saying, yo, lock is Ian Heinisch a lock this weekend. I like his price. I'll be getting to that very, very shortly. Man, I'm gonna just say this, like I said before, Islam versus Chandler. Why is Chandler acting like Islam needs to prove himself when dude just got to the UFC? I completely agree. Appreciate you stopping by, African. I know you'll be in for the replay as well. All right. Let's just take this last question from Cornholio, and then I'm going to get out of here, or then get into the episode. Sorry. I was at Rousey, home, and Whitaker Adesanya. I'm assuming you're from down under. Both were crazy, but seeing home knockout Rousey like that was insane. There was a lady behind me, and Rousey Reebok kid crying. Yeah, that was actually the pay-per-view right before Conor Aldo, right? That was UFC 193, if I'm not mistaken. That was November, and then Conor Aldo was December. Yeah, Cornel, the most unbelievable part is someone actually wearing a Reebok kit. Those are like fucking, it's hilarious how like revered NBA and all those types of jerseys are, but like a Reebok fight kit. Now, I will say this though, those Venom ones are looking quite sharp. I might have to cop one of those Venom ones for sure. The black and gold one they have, the championship ones are fucking legit. And as you guys can obviously tell from most of my color schemes, I like black and gold. All right, let's get into this. First and foremost, as we always do, winning or losing nights, we do the betting recap of the previous event. I actually got this wrong. Let me just quickly change that because it was not UFC Vegas, or it was not UFC 264. It was UFC Vegas 31. Let me get that back up on the screen. Yeah, lock of the night play was Nascimento versus Baudot under 1.5. That gets a little bit too close to that 1.5 mark, but luckily Nascimento puts his punches together and breaks Baudot and then eventually finishes him shortly thereafter. Plus 2.76 units on that. That's the lock of the night play right there. And then the dog of the night play, Sergey Morozov, should have been the favorite, just as I said, and just as the fights actually went down. And from bell to bell, he won every second of that fight. Plus 1.25 units. Syracuse, the dog of the night play. All in all, we get plus 4.01 units on the night. Happy with that performance. Cannot be mad at that at all. Clean little work there. And not to mention on the entire card, 9-1 on predictions. The only one that I got wrong was Figueiredo. You definitely live and you learn off of that. And also cash a giant, another solid Hail Mary swing for the fences parlay. If you guys remember back at the end of June, I hit a $250 to an 18K parlay. Now this weekend I hit, it was $500 to an 18K for the one back in June. This one that I hit this past weekend, $250 to win at 10 grand. Yeah, that's definitely helping my Vegas trip. Let's just say it like that. But yeah, great night for Hail Mary parlays for other than the under 2.5 and the Figgy and Gordon fight, which I felt was a pretty good spot, but that doesn't come to fruition. But to make Hail Mary parlays, excluding that fight, definitely a landmine, or not, sorry, a gold mine, I should say, in terms of being able to win bets. It seems like a lot of people did very well this past weekend, and for good reason. It seemed like a pretty easy card to break down. 3 underdogs winning. 2 of them I felt very strongly about with Morozov and Quarantillo. Obviously, I only ended up betting on Morozov, But again, I wish I went even deeper on Morozov. He fucking went to work that night. Great takedowns, great pressure, great work. Happy to hit that. Ugh, I got something in my eye. It's killing me. All right, let's see. Ali Hamoud is saying I was live for 218, 229, 264. Best moment of all three was watching Leon Edwards do the chicken dance at 264. I believe that was 263, right? Because 264 was this last one with McGregor and Poirier. MMA Genie in the chat, appreciate you stopping by. But better saying I had Morozov by submission in my content title. I had him by finish still, but did not hit the sub prop. Yeah. Great performance by him, though. Great performance. I think people put a little bit too much stock into his loss to Nurmagomedov, and how can you do that, especially with him coming in as a +4 underdog in that fight? Is what it is. Glad that we cashed on Morozov that night. All right. First fight of the night, Diana Belbita going up against Hannah Goldy. We got +100 on Belbita. A ton of action coming in on her. -120 is the return on Hannah Goldy, but Belbita opened roughly around +150, +160 on most spots, and she has been quickly steamed down to that +100 mark. I wouldn't even be surprised if this line actually ends up flipping by the time the fight actually ends up happening. I do like Belbita in this spot. I completely understand why the line is closing as much as it is. Hannah Goldy, she has a weird volume and output style of just staying on the outside, flipping kicks every now and then. And anytime her opponents try to close the distance or she closes distance, it's just wild winging shots, looping hooks, nothing crazy technical down the middle. Whereas Belbita seems a little bit more technical, albeit a little bit sloppy at times, but she does have those straight shots. She looked great in those couple seconds in the first exchange against Liana Jojo, where she was absolutely whooping her ass. But then she showed some poor fight IQ, clinches up with her, gets the takedown, and then eventually gets subbed quickly thereafter. But I am concerned. I apologize. I am not concerned in regards to Hannah Goldy taking it down, because that's just not Hannah Goldy's style. Unless Goldy comes into here and realizes I have a significant advantage over this woman, especially if I take this fight to the ground. And she could have that advantage if she gets this takedown here. But I think that Belbita will be able to keep the fight on the feet. I don't think that we'll see her make that same mistake last time. And on the feet, I think that it's going to look similar to maybe Hannah Goldy against Miranda Granger, where Goldy was doing her footwork thing. She was on her bicycle for the majority of the fight, but anytime she tried to close distance and get any strikes off, Miranda Granger met her with some straight shots down the middle. That was definitely more damaging than anything that Hannah Goldy was throwing out in that fight. So the volume might be on Goldy's side, but I do think that Belbita will be able to land the more significant strikes. She could potentially finish Goldy. I do think that Goldy is quite durable, but there is the opportunity, especially with the bull type of style that she has when she closes distance and get her striking going. Belbita could definitely counter well and land the better significant strikes, and I think should be able to take home a decision victory. So I like Belbita here. I think the value is all gone on her. I do still like her roughly around the +100 mark, as I do think that she'll be able to land the better strikes in the striking exchanges. And yeah, she should win this fight. I'm a Hannah Goldy fan, but I don't think that this is a good matchup for her, and I am going to be taking Diana Belbita to win this fight via decision. Wouldn't be surprised at a knockout either. Ryan Gransing, low levels. Ooh. I apologize. I believe I have a coffee on the way, so hopefully that wakes my ass up a little bit more. But let me just see here real quick. Yeah, weird. Hopefully it ends up coming soon. Anyway, low women's MMA dogger pass. Kind of agree, but depends on the stylistic matchup. MMA hedge fund saying faded Goldy against I and will fade again. I won't. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Okay is saying Charlo cost me 900 extra with that stupid performance, man. Never betting boxing again. Yeah, I did have Charlo in a parlay just for the fuck of it. Peter Hoden, we are all Goldy fans. Wink, I'm sure. Nicholas West, MMALOTN. I love it. Appreciate you stopping by, my guy. One thing I do want to say, I did talk about it on Clint's show. If you guys remember, our longtime fans of the UFC, if you guys remember Alex Nicholson, he was the one that was actually proposed to Hannah Goldy at his weigh-in. I believe it was before he was supposed to fight. I can't remember who he was supposed to fight, but either way, before he weighed in, he proposed to Hannah Goldy. Hannah Goldy was a nobody at that time, wasn't in the UFC. I think she was still very young in her MMA career. And yeah, she proposed to him. That was like February of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And then 7 months later, we get the story about him, like them having domestic abuse issues and all that type of shit. They quickly got divorced or separated after that. They do have a kid together, but Hannah's with somebody completely new now. I don't know what the fuck. Nicholson's probably out there just fucking around. But yeah, some great insight for you guys for this fight in terms of the background. All right, let's move. Yeah, Jazz Shergill. He was fighting Misha Cirkunov that night. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Sijara Eubanks versus Elise Reed, minus 230 on Eubanks, plus 270 on Elise Reed. Now, Elise Reed looks like she has some good chops in the striking realm. She is taking this fight on short notice, and she's also taking this fight up a weight class. Eubanks going back down to 125 pounds, where she's had issues in terms of trying to make weight, most notably when she was actually scheduled to fight for the title, if I'm not mistaken, against, I can't recall who it was. I want to say, I don't recall who it was. I want to say Pani Kianzad. Could be off on that, but either way, Eubanks has issues trying to make weight. She does not make it to the fight. She was supposed to fight Nico Montano. Yeah, and that's when Roxanne Modafferi jumped in and Montano beat Modafferi that night. But Eubanks went up to 135 pounds, had a couple ups and downs, and now she's trying to get back down to 125 pounds. So definitely got to keep an eye on her this weekend or this week once we get to the weigh-ins on Friday. However, if she does come in good shape, she doesn't look like a complete, shit stick on the scales. She should be able to cruise here against Elise Reed. Elise Reed has good striking. She's the former CFFC strawweight champion. She comes from a karate and taekwondo background, but she does show some deficiencies in the grappling realm at times. Now, she has gotten out of some pretty bad positions as well. I've seen her in an armbar some more times I can count on one hand, and that's definitely not a good look, especially with her going up against a girl like Sijara Eubanks, who is probably the best jiu-jitsu specialist that she's faced up until this point. Not to mention, Eubanks will have the size and strength advantage in this fight. I truly believe that Eubanks should be able to drag this fight to the ground and pose a grappling, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Eubanks actually pull off a submission victory in this fight. The longer that Eubanks decides to strike in this fight, the more chances she's giving Elise Reed to win this fight. So I'm hoping that we'll see Eubanks land takedowns nice and early here and just take home either a submission victory or at least a decision by grinding out Reed for the majority of 15 minutes. Why everybody's asking why Eubanks is like the biggest favorite on the card. Once you guys run the tape and see where Reed can be exploited with the grappling, and then taking Eubanks's grappling credentials into consideration, she should go out there and absolutely put the work on Elise Reed. I am a little bit skeptical in terms of if Eubanks does make the weight, look shit on the scales, and then starts to slow down later in her fights. Elise Reed seems to have those chops to go out there and potentially put together finishing combinations late in fights, especially with her opponent starting to slow down and gas. And that could absolutely happen here with Sijara Eubanks. So if you are looking to parlay Eubanks and to add a little bit of value to your parlays, and not value, but at least try to get a little extra juice and squeeze out of your parlays, I think Eubanks is a decent parlay piece, but I would rather wait until Friday. And even though the line might be a little bit more steamed, I would wait till Friday, see what she looks like on the scales, and then make a decision on whether you want to, spice up your parlays a little bit by throwing her into it. But yeah, I do like Sijara Eubanks here. I think she cruises once this fight reaches grappling realms, and I don't think it's going to look that close either. MMA hedge funds. Oh, sorry. Average Joe saying, wait a minute, she proposed to him. That says, sorry, it was the other way around. Alex Nicholson proposed to Hannah Goldy on stage at the weigh-ins. MMA hedge fund saying Eubanks inside the distance, under at plus money. I like it as well. Mixed pressure fight saying Lockwood's Eubanks' record. I know it's bad. It's like 6-7 or 7-6 or something like that. Not a good record, but she is fighting some legitimate competition in those weight classes that she's at. So again, she is skilled, but her record does not indicate it. I promise that the record is misleading you, though. Ryan Grant saying Eubanks by however she wants. I agree. Dan Gold saying if Eubanks misses weight big, like she didn't really try to kill herself, I'm betting her. Exactly. That's another way that you guys can go about it. Okay, everyone's scared me off Reed. You guys better be right. Hey, if you feel that you're getting value on Reed, fucking go for it. Don't blame me. I'm just giving you my thoughts. But better is saying Eubanks is not that good. She is not minus 300 good even against this opponent. I slightly disagree because I do think she's going to have a dramatic or so a significant advantage in the grappling realm, and she will look minus 300 if this fight hits the ground. I could be wrong, but pre-tape, I feel as though, or sorry, pre-fight, I do feel as though she can look minus 300 if she is successful with the grapple-heavy approach. Nicholas West, if Eubanks has a hard cut, I like Reed to steal round 2 and outwork her in round 3. Reed by decision plus 450, not bad. Even Reed by third round KO could potentially be, or third round period could be a spot to circle. There is no odds out for it yet. Reed inside the distance is plus 610. So do what you want with that information, people. All right, let's move this card along. Next up, we got Andre Ewell going up against Julio Arce, plus 170 on Ewell, minus 200 on Julio Arce. Very, very excited for this matchup. Two great strikers, a little bit of a different approach in terms of how they implement the striking here, but I do think that we'll get some fireworks for as long as this fight lasts, because I do think that there's a decent shot that this could potentially end inside the distance. Now, Julio Arce is one of those guys that I've been a fan of for a long time. The guy has great striking acumen, not to mention his grappling is pretty good too. He should be able to put a good pace on Ewell, especially if he decides to drag this fight to the ground, which is more often than not Ewell's kind of kryptonite that people are able to beat him with. Just grapple fuck him, and you should have some success. Another way that you could have success that I think that Arce could take a note or two from is a Chris Gutierrez fight. Beat up that lead leg, slow down Andre Ewell, and let your hands go and see what happens after that. And I feel as though Julio Arce can implement that to a T here against the guy in Andre Ewell, who, great striking, like I said, quick 1-2 down the middle. He uses his range very well, especially in terms of staying long and staying away from his opponents, but he just does not do a good job in terms of defending on leg kicks. I don't think he strikes just as good from both stances as he does, if he were to switch stances. And I think that Arce will beat up that lead leg, forcing Ewell to change stances, being in the much less benefiting of a stance, if that's what you want to call it. And I do think that Arce should be able to eat him up after that. So I do like Arce to win this fight. Potential for a round 3 is here as well, as I do think that Arce could potentially drag this fight late. I do think that he could also really beat him up, get that leg work going, and then start opening up with his hands. And still, we have no line on Arce round 3. That is something that me and Clint were kind of targeting last night as well. But Arce wins inside the distance, plus 280. Yeah, really looking forward to that. Shout out to Mrs. Locke for bringing your boy a coffee, so I'm not yawning for the rest of the stream. So shout out to my wife right there. She is the greatest. She is number one in terms of making sure that Lock of the Night does his work. But yeah, I like Arce here. Layoff, a little bit of a concern. Obviously, we haven't seen him fight since UFC 244, way back at the when they competed for the BMF title. But I do still think that he has the striking chops to go out there and chop down Andre Ewell and then eventually finish him later in this fight. So I do like Arce. Jazz Shergill is saying line makes no sense. Seems wide, even though I favor Arce. Interesting. I think it's right where it's at. Arce inside the distance plus 280. I don't mind that line at all. Ryan Grant, Arce way more composed, less erratic striking than you will like him here. Yep. I'm right there with you, my brother. That's my thoughts exactly. MMA Aiden, Arce doesn't shoot for takedowns and doesn't kick the legs. Michael Ewell by decision plus 290, but I'm going to sprinkle Arce round 3. I do think that we'll see him implement kicks for this. He's a great Muay Thai striker. I'd be hard-pressed to believe that he won't look to target leg kicks here. And in terms of takedowns, when you have such a solid advantage over your opponents, you'd be stupid not to at least try to take that route. And I think that we'll see either takedowns or leg kicking here from Arce. If he strictly goes out there and just tries to kickbox with him with mainly just like kicks to the body, kicks to the head, and striking with his hands, he's setting himself up to lose. Ewell will beat him in a fight where we're where they're just relying on their hands. His 1-2 is too quick. I think he's going to be I think Ewell will have a slight speed advantage when it comes to the striking, and then obviously that distance management is very top notch. And I think Arce is going to have to start off with the legs and then eventually go up top. Great corner Holly Ewell's reach is the only thing causing me worries about picking Arce. Yeah. Again, Ewell does slow down late in round 3 or in round 3s, right? Erwin Rivera had tons of success against Ewell late in that fight. And we all know that Arce is definitely a much better fighter than what Erwin Rivera brings to the table. Yannick Leberge saying Arce fought for BMF. No, he fought on the same card as the BMF title, which was UFC 244. So I believe that was November of 2019. I could be off on that. MMALOTN, I'm just sketched because he didn't kick the legs of Duwadu. Duwadu is a just as good, if not better, Muay Thai striker than Julio Arce. So I wouldn't take too much from that fight. In this fight, Ewell is a completely different style of striker than Duwadu, so I think that he'll take a different approach here. That Duwadu fight was interesting, right? A lot of it took place in the clinch up against the cage. I'd be surprised if it turns out to be the same type of fight between these two guys. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. Probably the fight that a lot of people are looking forward to the most on this card. Fight of the night written all over it. We got Adrian Yanez minus 230 going up against Randy Costa plus 190. Very, very excited for this fight. Now, I feel like all the thoughts that I've had on Randy Costa this whole week has kind of been influenced by the fact that he's been out for as long as he has and has been truly refining his game down at Sanford MMA. And I feel like I've been putting stock into the fact that we're going to see those improvements inside the cage. But the fact of the matter is, Randy Costa is a guy that is KO you quick or get finished later, as he did by Brandon Davis in his UFC debut. We don't see him go deep. We don't see him pressed or pushed, after that first round, because more often than not, he's finishing his opponents, just as he did with Boston Salmon and just as he did with who's the guy that he beat after that? Journey Newson. Right. I bet Journey Newson in that fight because I believe that if he could survive the striking early from Randy Costa, he should be able to land takedowns and then eventually get a submission in that second round. But Randy Costa, very unorthodox style with the striking, strikes from weird angles and has a lot of speed and obviously has a lot of power. He was able to quickly dispatch Journey Newson, and we didn't even get to see that fight play out as much as I would have liked to see. Here against Yanez, though, Yanez, great striking defense, picture perfect with his hands. Obviously, one of the best boxing fighters that we'll see inside the UFC, is able to put together just beautiful combinations. Again, his striking defense is a very, very big thing in this fight, which is why I think that he should be able to survive anything that Costa throws at him, and then he should be able to return, eventually breaking Costa in that second round, and then possibly finishing him in that second or third round. Now, I wish that the total for this was set at 2.5 and not 1.5, because if it was 2.5, I would probably take a shot at the under 2.5. I know that there are usually lines out there that you guys like alternate totals. So right now we have the under 1.5 at plus 105 and under 2.5 at minus 180. I don't mind that minus 180 on the under 2.5 because these guys are going to sling leather. I'd be very surprised if either guy shoots for takedowns here. If anybody does, I think it will be Randy Costa, but I still don't think that it's going to be effective enough on a guy like Adrian Yanez, who's dealt with much tougher wrestlers and grapplers in the past and fared pretty well against those types of guys. You can't convince me that Randy Costa is going to make tremendous leaps and bounds of improvements in regards to his grappling, that he's going to be able to efficiently impose it against a guy like Adrian Yanez. I think Yanez will be able to survive that onslaught from Randy Costa early, and then he should be able to start. Then he should start to take over later, and that I do think he'll eventually find that knockout, probably in the second or early third round. So I'm going to be eyeing those round props for Yanez. Initially, I thought that the line is a little bit too wide at minus 230 because I expect this fight to be a banger, but I do think that we're going to see Yanez start to take over the longer that this fight goes, and then he's going to truly start to look that minus 230 as his cage door closes and he gets his game going. So I like Yanez here. Yanez inside the distance. Yanez by KO is plus 150. I like that spot. Fight doesn't start round 3 is a spot that I would be potentially looking at as well. Oh, they do have round props here. Yanez round 2 plus 500. Yanez round 3 plus 700. So those are two spots I'm going to be highlighting for this. But yeah, I do like Yanez here, and I do like him quite a lot. Nicholas saying, Adrian. Jazz Sugar, Yanez inside the distance at plus odds and round 3. One of them hits. I like that. Aiden said I had Newsom too. Exactly. I grabbed under 1.5 on this fight while it was at plus 130. Don't think it's locked, but at that price, I like it. I don't hate it either. Dan Goldstein, I got almost 2 units on Reese's Peanut Butter Cups money line already and going to hit the inside the distance prop line. Interesting. Alejandro Cardenas is saying fight doesn't go to decision at minus 220 is a lock. I like that. I like that spot. Can't be mad at that at all. Nicholas West, Yanez to win in round 3 plus 700. Yep, I like that. Ethan Cruz, Adrian is such a dope guy. Got to pick with him at 263. That's dope. He looks very approachable for sure. MMA and Costa way too hittable, especially when he's gassed. Yanez by KO around plus 175. I agree. Yeah. Richard Perez, my guy, what's in the Starbucks cup? It is a salted caramel cold brew. Salted caramel cold brew. Anything to give my ass some fucking energy so I'm not yawning all over this. Shout out to the guys that were like supporters of mine way back in the day when I was doing the MMA Lawcast out of Big Rob's studio. If you guys remember Big Rob, he used to do a segment with me at the beginning. But yeah, I would work a full day of work. That when I would go to his place, do the podcast all in one shot, not live. It would be pre-recorded. And then after that, I would go to my evening job, my part-time job. So I was literally working like 12 hours a day, yet I would still make a time to go out there every Monday to do the podcast. And that entire podcast, I was yawning my ass off because I was so tired. I'd even have a coffee in hand and be yawning my ass off. But now, look where it's gotten me. So it was definitely worth it back then for sure. About better saying I'm passing on this as a parlay leg. I wouldn't mind putting the fight doesn't go to decision as a possible parlay leg either. Z's MMA in the chat. Shout out to my guy Z, who was on the show last Friday night, helping us break down that last card, which we all did pretty well with. Z's MMA saying, "What's up, Lock? I was hawk eyeing lines and locked up Yanez inside the distance plus 125. Love that line. Yanez by KO plus 185. Love that as well. Had my sniper at the ready. Agreed line looked wide until I looked at the tape. Yes." Again, I feel like I've been putting a little bit too much stock into the potential improvements that we're going to be seeing from Costa. But again, until we see inside the cage, it's all hypothetical and just basing it on potential. So Tito Hawk saying hard work pays off. Let's go, brother. Ethan Cruz, you've come a long way. I feel like you were around during that time as well. So I appreciate that as well. About better saying I don't work enough. Gotta work. Blackie Chan saying, Mr. Lock of the Night, I hope you're doing well. Put my college debt on Yanez. Blackie, if you ain't in the chat more often than not, dropping your knowledge like that, I'm going to be upset. Just saying. MMA hedge funds, I'll be doing one of my created lines on Yanez money line, Yanez KO. I like that. Ziz MMA, much respect for Billy last week and good dog cash. Yeah, I believe you were on Benitez that night. But I do think for the most part, a lot of people made money that night. All right, let's move on to the next fight. A fight that I'm very much excited for. We got Ian Heinisch minus 150 going up against Nasruddin Imavov at plus 130. And shout out, I can't recall who it was right off the bat. I want to say it was Kung Dao Chicken, who had said that Nasruddin just recently posted that he had hand surgery about 13 weeks ago. So not too good of a look in terms of a guy that's going to go out there and just focus on his hands, right? That's what Imavov is great at. He goes out there, he puts punches on his opponents and tries to knock them out. That's his best way to win a fight, or, just outwork and just have a little bit more in the gas tank than a guy like Jordan Williams when they had that weird fight, a very back and forth fight. Now, I truly think that this is a buy low spot for Ian Heinisch. I absolutely believe that. Now, I think he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. His only win, quick knockout victory over Gerald Mearshard, but he's obviously coming off that loss to Kelvin Gastelum. The 2 fights before that, Omar Yakhmadov and the latest one, Derek Brunson. If you guys remember, he was a minus 150 favorite going into that Derek Brunson fight. And now that was him coming off of a dominant victory over Cesar Fajeda and then a win over Antonio Carlos Jr. the fight after that. And a lot of people were already, saying this guy's the next big thing. Like, he should be able to crack that top 7. He has all the skills in the world to do so. But a lot of his skills are surrounded by the fact that he goes out there and he grapples his opponents. He has a lot of success when he's able to drown his opponents, grapple them, put them up against the cage, grapple fuck them, whatever it may be. That's what Ian Heinisch does best. But when he went up against a guy like Derek Brunson and he went up against a guy like Omari Akhmedov and tried implementing that similar type of game plan, he got stifled. Those guys have much more experience than him in the wrestling realm, much higher level of experience in the wrestling realm, and it definitely showed in that fight. That's why Omari was able to keep the fight in the striking realm or have his own grappling success when he decided to grapple, because anytime Heinisch found himself into trouble, he tried going for the takedown, get stuffed, and then the other opponent would just always, get on top of him, have better success in the striking, whatever it may be. Here, though, he doesn't have that to worry about. Imavov's takedown defense is not that great. His fight IQ doesn't see that great either. And he seems a little lost whenever he gets clinched up against the cage, kind of just looking for a way out. Sometimes he just looks for Bravo chokes, or he just looks to try to high elbow guillotine or something like that. He's just trying to wrap up his opponent rather than trying to look for ways to get out, digging underhooks and pivoting off the cage or anything like that. He seems to really struggle with that. Now, he struggled with that a lot against the guy in Phil Hawes, who, in my opinion, great wrestler, good accolades, very strong guy. But I feel like Heinisch should be able to implement a very similar game plan with much more effectiveness and not a scare in that third round as Phil Hawes gave a lot of people, for anybody that was betting Phil Hawes that night. Not to mention, I don't think anybody was expecting Phil Hawes to go out there and grapple fuck Nasruddin Imavov as effectively as he did that night, but he did it. He did it pretty successfully as well, obviously getting his hand raised that night via decision. Now, here against Heinisch, I think Heinisch has great cardio. He should be able to implement it to a T, and I think he's going to be able to drown Imavov here and potentially finish him even in the third round in this spot. I do think that he will drown him, like I said, push him up against the cage, land a couple takedowns. Heinisch is very, very active in terms of trying to secure takedowns. Even in his last fight against Kelvin Gastelum, I believe he shot about 6 takedowns. And again, Kelvin Gastelum's grappling game is heavily underrated, and it definitely showed in that fight as he was able to get the better of Heinisch's, most of those grappling exchanges, as he's always been a step ahead. I don't expect Imavov to be a step ahead here. Last thing I'll say about the Phil Hawes narrative in this spot, Phil Hawes, another Sanford MMA guy. Sanford MMA is now the home of Ian Heinisch. He purchased a home down there just to fully be committed to that training camp, and you got to believe the training staff, the coaching staff and the training camp and all of his partners, especially Phil Hawes, had a couple good things to say to him in terms of how to deal with a guy like Imavov, what you need to look for. They already have a winning game plan against this guy, and now I think they have an even better fighter in Ian Heinisch to go out there and implement that type of game plan, and I think they're going to be able to do that exactly. So Ian Heinisch, I'll let you guys know right off the bat, he is my lock of the night play. I have 4.5 units on him at minus 150. I love him in this spot. He has durability for days. We've seen him eat massive punches and continue to chug forward. I'd be surprised if he gets thwarted by anything that Imavov does on the feet, which won't allow him to close the distance and get the takedown. Heinisch will get takedowns, will ground this guy, will drown him, and I do think that he either gets a decision victory or finishes him off with some ground and pound in that third round after he's just a little bit too overwhelming for Imavov. So there we go. Long-winded. But that's how much I like Heinisch in the spot. I think it's truly a buy low spot. Minus 150 is a gift of a line. I think he's going to look closer to minus 300, minus 400 in the spot, as he should just cruise in this fight. Clear and distinct grappling advantage, something that we definitely know Imavov struggles with. And Heinisch has that gas tank to go out there and do it time and time again, rinse and repeat for 15 minutes, 13 minutes, 14 minutes, whatever it might be. Ian Heinisch has this fight in the bag, in my opinion. He is my favorite play on the card. I like Ian Heinisch, minus 150. Let's see if what the props are saying for this matchup. We do have them out. So Ian Heinisch by decision, plus 145, not too bad. Heinisch in round 3 is plus 2,000. How is that? Wow. They're giving Imavov a better chance of finishing this fight in the third round than Heinisch finishing the fight in the third round. That's blasphemy. That's at least odds according to Bet Online. So I'll be taking a stab on Heinisch in round 3 in the spot. Belbita saying, I just hope Heinisch can throw some. I know for a fact that the striking is going to be in Imavov's favor. There's no doubt about that. It's the grappling. And I think that I can trust Heinisch to go out there and grapple in this fight. MMA hedge fund saying Heinisch should be a minus 200. I think it should be more of that, to be honest. If the crew saying just don't let the fame get to your head. That was hilarious, right? A better Imavov, low volume, low cardio. Yeah, I don't think his cardio is the greatest. I really don't. When he's being pushed, I don't think his cardio is that good. I will say, obviously, Imavov was close to finishing fucking Phil Haas in the third round, but we know what Phil Haas brings to the table in terms of his cardio, how lost he looks when he's being put on his back foot and actually eating shots. I think Heinisch reacts much better to getting hit and does a good job in terms of, reacting well with going for takedowns instead. Josh Trigo saying Imavov is lock of the century. He made Haas look like the next big thing. Yeah. Ziz MMA saying clear path for Ian here. He's durable and we have the small cage. Imavov got real striking skills, but he's up against it here. Absolutely. MMA hedge fund smother him and clearly win all three. I agree. Heinisch striking defense not fantastic. I agree, but thankfully he has the durability to hold up here. MMA Aiden Ian training with Haas right now. I see clinch fest to a decision win. Ian has great strength and cardio that Imavov doesn't have. I agree. Ziza saying Imavov is dead to me after letting Haas off the hook. Yeah, there's a couple of times where he like rocked him in that third round and willingly engaged in the clinch. Like, what are you doing, dude? Sure, you might be tired, but you're down on the scorecards. Keep letting those hands go, buddy. Ryan Grant, Imavov breaking his hand again. That would be great. MMA Aiden saying not like the striking going to be one-sided either. I think it will be, but again, I'd be surprised if Heinisch goes out there and just willingly kickboxes with this guy for the majority of the fight. Ethan Cruz, doesn't Imavov train with Gall? Wonder if that will help at all. It seems like Badal made some improvements, just not enough. No, I don't think it's going to have an effect at all, to be honest. But better Heinisch if he's active on the feet. Blackie Chan, Yanez, Heinisch parlay for quick money. I don't mind that. Z's MMA drug smoking is the best base for MMA. I love it. But better Heinisch might be my main parlay. Like, yeah, he's my biggest play on the card. Only thing Haw is going to show him is how to grab the fence for dear life. He did like 6 times in the Imavov fight. Yeah, that was bad. Great Cornholio, a name ending with Ov that struggles grappling. Yeah, Heinisch all day. Let's fucking go. Ryan Grant saying that cold brew looks fire. Yeah, it's definitely giving me a kick in the butt. You guys haven't seen me yawn once since I took one sip. Once again, shout out to Mrs. Locke for that. Kung Dao Chicken. Hopefully Heinisch goes for the takedowns. I might have to give up if Heinisch doesn't go for takedowns in this fight. Like if he gets knocked out before even attempting a takedown within the first minute or so, okay, whatever. But I'd be surprised if at least 2 minutes goes by and he doesn't go for a takedown. 2 minutes would be too long to play on the feet here with a guy like Nasruddin Imavov. But yeah, I do like Heinisch here, and I clearly like him a lot in this spot. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Punahele Soriano going up against Brendan Allen, and we got even money here for both guys, minus 110 on either side. Seems like a little bit of money is coming in on Allen with me just quickly looking at the best fight odds. I lied. It pretty much is the same. Like it's a dead pick 'em in this spot. Very easy fight to break down in terms of styles, right? We got Soriano who wants to keep this fight on the feet, get his striking going, potentially knock out Allen early in this fight. Allen wants to endure that striking of Soriano, drag this fight to the ground, get his BJJ going. I do believe that Soriano will be successful in terms of keeping this fight on the feet. He does have a bit of a wrestling background that should help him in terms of nullifying some of the takedown attempts from Brendan Allen. But the issue here with Soriano is even if we do want to cap him at the fact that he could potentially get taken down by Allen here, we haven't seen Soriano off of his back. Now, historically speaking, guys like Soriano and his skill set don't really have the greatest work off their back. So I'm not expecting him to, go out there and reverse Brendan Allen off of his back or throw up a triangle or anything like that. But we still need to see what he does in terms of, does he do the right things in terms of nullifying the damage and the potential threat from Brendan Allen on top? And also, does he work to get back to his feet? We need to see some legitimate tape of Soriano doing that against legitimate competition. We just don't have that yet. For the majority, we've been seeing Punahele go out there and just strike with his opponents and his opponents willingly wanting to strike with him too. Brendan Allen, trains down there at Stanford MMA as well. Another guy that just made his home down there at Stanford at least a year or two ago at this point in time. I'd be surprised if he goes out there and tries to show off his Henry Hoofed Dutch kickboxing style for more than 2 minutes as well. I feel as though he's going to want to push up Soriano against the cage, look for takedowns, trips, whatever it might be, to get his grappling game going. But I truly think he's going to struggle with the strength and the wrestling background of Soriano. So I do think that Soriano keeps this fight on the feet. I do think he nukes Brendan Allen quite early in this fight as well. So I will be backing Soriano here. I'm not sure if I'll actually have a bet on it, but I would love to see what the line shakes out as the fight week continues to progress. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 260 is very intriguing, obviously quite chalky, but feels like either guy should get the finish in the spot. And Punaholo Soriano to win inside the distance is plus 160. I don't mind that spot at all. They don't have Soriano round one. They have Allen round one for some reason. So not many props out there for Soriano at the moment, but I do think that he should go out there and get the first round KO in this spot. So I do like me some Punahale Soriano via first round KO. Let's see what the chat is saying. Peter Houghton saying Puna. I like it. Ryan Grant, Puna all day. About better, none of the props have generated at Rivers. Brandon Ortega saying, I see Soriano wrestling defense being good enough to keep it up. I agree. Josh Sugar, Soriano inside the distance before I get steam minus 110 is a gift of a line. I like that approach. About better saying, Allen, very good on the ground. Definitely. Very good jiu-jitsu player for sure. It's, can he get it to the ground? Are you confident enough in terms of him getting it to the ground? Ryan Grant, why wouldn't you just take a money line at the same price? Yeah, Soriano inside the distance is roughly around plus 160. So, yeah. Andy Price in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by, brother. About better, Alan Grapple who has fallen in love with his hands. I'd be surprised if he's fallen in love with his hands enough to go out there and strike Soriano, strike for strike in this fight. MMA Aiden, Soriano, great athlete with wrestling background. Allen has only taken down Roberson and Holland. Allen going to be stuck on the feet with only 39% striking defense. Yeah, he's going to get lit the fuck up if this fight stays on the feet. Punahale, Dan Ghosty saying I'm on Punahale or Punalele, as Clint was saying. I didn't want to correct him. I felt bad, but he just kept saying Punalele. It was cracking me up inside as well. Puna by KO, I like it. Hopefully, if Allen uses the Strickland method, it could be fucktown for him. Yeah, that was a very weird approach from Brendan Allen in that fight against Strickland. But better is going to be on Puna. I like that approach. Soriano KO round one plus 375. I like that spot. Belbita saying Puna Heinisch 2-piece plus 210. I like that as well. Bangkok ready Brendan is going to get strike happy after being at Stanford with Henry Hooft. I agree. My guy David Bonilla in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by. Josh Shergo meant to say money line minus 110 is a gift of the line. Yep. I don't think I've seen anybody confidently on Brendan Allen this week. Not saying I'm confident on the Soriano side, but the side's got to be Soriano, given what we know about both guys here. But yeah, I do like Soriano. Soriano got by KO. Soriano round one as well is something that I'll be potentially looking at to sprinkle a little bit on. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. The fight that I absolutely give the least fucks about. Jordan Williams, minus 165, plus 145 on Gall. A little bit of a tough fight to break down. We know Gall obviously has some solid chops. Once the fight hits the ground, has some good jiu-jitsu. His striking game is definitely coming up. Spending time with Joe Schilling and Matt Brown and those guys. He was obviously getting the much better of Mike Perry on the feet in the first round of their fight. Beating Mike Perry on the feet. A lot of people thought that Mickey Gall needed to take the fight to the ground to have true success, but he had massive amounts of success, really busting up the face of Mike Perry in that first round. I had a bet on Mickey Gall in that fight because I truly thought, by all accounts, it looked like, he was going out there to to look to grapple fuck Mike Perry, right? He was putting on a lot of muscle, he's putting on a lot of strength, working on his jiu-jitsu, trying to get the fight to the ground and try to submit Mike Perry, but he showed great striking chops and again won that first round. But then after that, seemed like he started to gas, seemed like he started to slow down. Then we saw Mike Perry actually be the one to start go out there and grappling. And luckily enough for him, Mickey Gall was a little bit too gassed to actually even have any effective offense off of his back or even look for reversals to potentially get the finish there. So good on Mike Perry in terms of learning to adjust on the fly there and taking full advantage of what his advantage was in that fight. A lot of people thought it would have been the striking, but it was actually the grappling that night. So good on Mike Perry that night. Jordan Williams, on the other hand, kind of sketchy. He is coming down to 170 pounds. If you guys remember, the main thing about this guy was that he's a diabetic, so he can't cut weight. Would always fight at 185 pounds. Now he's cutting down to 170 pounds. Now he used to usually weigh in about 182 for his middleweight fights. He did weigh in at 182 against Imavov, 181 against Gregory Rodriguez on the Contender Series, 185 against Ramazan Kuramagomedov with his second last fight on the Contender Series. 184 against Diego Herzog in Bellator, and then his first Contender Series stint where he actually won via third round KO. He went in at 185 as well. So I believe this is the first fight he's actually fighting at 170 pounds professionally. I could be off on that, but I'm just quickly trying to see if I see anything on the actually did fight at 170 pounds and got knocked out by Dwight Grant on the regional scene back in 2016. So he has fought at 170 pounds before. I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like this weekend when he steps on the scale. He's 30 years old, so he's pretty much, getting to the point where we're going to see his finished product. And I think it's enough to go out there and beat Mickey Gall, but I'm not confident in it at all. I'm not betting on either side in this spot. Mickey Gall, questionable gas tank. Jordan Williams, questionable gas tank. Jordan Williams has some power on the feet, as we obviously saw him go out there and start Gregory Rodriguez, who just recently made his UFC debut successfully against Dushko Todorovic. Yeah, tough fight for me to truly break down and see if there's an angle on either side. Maybe the fight doesn't go to decision. Both guys have finishing capabilities. Both guys, they are kind of durable. I'll give them to them, but I don't really have a strong read on either side here, so I don't want to get too far into this matchup and start talking out of my ass, to be honest. I don't see an edge on either side here. Gall, if he wants to continuously show his striking improvements, sure, but how long is he going to be able to keep that up for? Yeah, I'm going to take Williams. I'll take Williams by second round KO. But again, not the strongest read here. I don't really like this matchup at all. And again, even when running tape, I really couldn't put a finger on how I truly felt about this fight. But I do like Williams. Josh Sugar, the only fight I have no bet on, but I feel like it's Dogger Pass. I don't blame you there. About better. Didn't Williams almost have a heart attack at the Contender Series fight? Yeah. The Kuramagomedov fight was crazy. Is this at 170? I thought Williams couldn't cut the weight. Yeah, this is at 170. Anyway, saying, hey, Mickey, about better. Mickey Gall, a bust. The guy came into the UFC 1-0. He's been forced to grow up in front of us, and he's had some favorable matchups that he's been able to win. The Salim Tahari fight, and obviously, I believe he submitted Sage Northcutt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6-3. Let's see his run. Came into the UFC, beat Mike Jackson. That was the number one contender to fight CM Punk. So he won that fight, and then he beat CM Punk. Chokes out Sage Northcutt in his next fight. Then gets a tough fight against Randy Brown. Beats George Sullivan, who just wasn't UFC caliber at that point in time. Loses to Diego Sanchez. If I'm not mistaken, he was a favorite in that fight, right? Minus 250 favorite for Mickey Gall. Crazy. Beats Salim Tahari, another guy that I don't think is UFC level, and then loses to Mike Perry. So he's actually been exchanging wins and losses since his Randy Brown fight. And if the pattern holds up true, he should actually be able to get a win this weekend over Jordan Williams. But again, low-level fight. I have no confidence on either side here. Dan Goldstein saying, I give negative amount of fucks for this fight too. No way to see him Punk Killer and Diabito. It should be above Punahale and Allen. I agree here. Coming down chicken. I thought Jordan Williams couldn't cut weight. I'd wait for after weigh-ins. Yep. Josh Jones, I'd be on Williams if I wasn't worried about the weight cut. Dan Goldstein can't bank on a guy who could get rat fucked on the scales by an insulin or glucose deficiency. Dave Vanilla say Gall is so slow. Yep. Gall's best win is being CM Punk. That says it all. CM Punk 2 minutes into that fight. Great card 225. Oh yeah, under 2.5 of this fight. Could be some violence in this fight for sure. Kung Dao checking Gall lost to decent competition. Yep. Okay, this is a gimme fight for Gall, but this guy's pretty explosive. I'm staying far away from this one. I don't think this is a gimme fight for Gall at all. There's a reason he's an underdog here. All right, let's get moving on to the next fight. Macy Barber plus 115, Miranda Maverick minus 135. Pre-tape, I felt pretty good about Macy Barber. I thought this was a spot that a lot of people would kind of be overlooking her. Obviously, she would be coming off of 2 losses now at the Roxanne Modafferi fight. Then she was off for an extended period of time due to her ACL, I believe it was. She comes back, loses to Alexa Grasso. I was on Alexa Grasso that night. I just felt like it was a great spot for her. Luckily, it came through. And yeah, Barber now trying to change things up once again, going over to Team Alpha Male, working with Uriah Faber and those guys, and trying to get his game, trying to change up her game and try to find a spark that will truly, get her back on track to being that woman that we thought she was going to be when she came off the Contender Series. But this fight against Miranda Maverick is tough. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for Barber to get anything going in this spot. The striking should be somewhat similar. I think Barber's striking looks better. Don't get me wrong, but Maverick does have a mean 1-2 down the middle, not to mention a lot of power behind those shots. So I do think that the striking will be somewhat similar and kind of almost cancel each other out. And then in the grappling, I think that Maverick could potentially be the stronger woman in this spot. Barber, very strong in her own right. But she does give up takedowns. She does give up positions up against the cage. And I feel like Maverick has such good fight IQ that she mixes in her grappling and her striking so well and seamlessly that it might catch Macy Barber off guard. We could see some striking exchanges end with Maverick landing a takedown and then, swing the judges on that side. Yeah, I like Maverick in the spot. She is improving on a fight-to-fight basis. Doesn't seem like she's plateauing in any of her spots, and I see something better every time I see her go out there and fight. And I think she should rightfully be favored in this fight against Macy Barber. And I think she'll be able to handle the power that Barber has. I think that Barber might have a slight power advantage in the striking, but I do think that Maverick's ability to mix it up, especially with the takedowns, should allow her to squeeze out a decision victory in this fight. So I'm going Maverick. I don't mind the line minus 135. I think that's a good spot, but I do think that Maverick cruises in this fight, lands takedowns when she needs to, remains competitive in the striking, has that extra, that card in her back pocket that she can just pull out when she needs to, which is her grappling. I think she's going to be able to do that very effectively here against Macy Barber. So I'm going Miranda Maverick minus 135, and then even Maverick by decision, not too bad. The under seems like a trap spot, but both girls are pretty durable. That's the thing that scares me off here. Both girls have finishing capabilities, but both girls are very, very durable as well. So I think that's going to be a little bit difficult to cash that at under 2.5, which is why I'm going to be going with Maverick to win this fight via decision. Juan Bonilla is saying Miranda is the spot. Genuinely think Macy's appeal only path to victory is TKO. I agree. Jazz Shergo saying keep steaming Maverick. Barber KO incoming. Feel like only way she'll win. Can't let me down 3 times. Can she? I think she might. MMA hedge funds. Can someone leave the cage with a hematoma? Andy Price, Maverick is better. Should be a good fight. I agree. Kung Dao Chicken, Maverick versus Barber is pretty much a spy versus spy mirror match. Both chicks are bruises and rely on their power. I think the difference here, though, is the ability for Maverick to get this fight to the ground, and I think that's going to be the difference maker. I wouldn't be surprised to see Barber actually take that approach as well, and she could sway the judges with some potential takedowns, but I feel like, historically speaking, we've definitely seen a little bit more from Maverick than we've seen from Barber. Kung Dao Chicken should be a pick'em, so there's value on Barber. I slightly disagree. I do favor Maverick here. I don't think minus 135 is that bad or too juiced either. Dan Goldstein, I think Miranda is too well-rounded. Barber may be made to look as out of place with Maverick as Caitlyn Jenner had to kind of call it. Dan, I might have to get you on a stream one day, brother. You know what you're talking about, and you got some witty jokes. I like what I see from you, my guy. Ethan Cruz, I thought Macy was a future star. Still has time, but boy, was I wrong so far. Too much of a one-trick pony, exactly. we get these like, I forgot who I heard say it, but like we get these like ultimate swings of like of opinions and just craziness that like we overcorrect a little bit too much, right? Like what I want to, we're going to talk about it in another fight later on here, but like Ty Leo, right? Like Khalil Roundtree, he goes out there, has one great performance, and now all of a sudden he's one of the best at 205-pound division. Young Kutilaba quickly goes out there and just reminds us why he's not. So with Barber, she's finishing chicks here and there. She has some good wins. Don't get me wrong, but we gotta start talking about in absolutes. Let's just allow every fight to be a bit of information that we add to a fighter, and then realistically recognize and figure out where they truly belong in the picture. Mitchell Williams is saying I can't bet an under in women's MMA. The last time I did was Julia Vila against Julia Stoliarenko, and that whiffed by a minute. So that fucking sucked. Peter Houghton saying a simp bet laid the pipe on Macy plus money. Recency bias is in play for most. Maybe. Kung Dao Chicken, the common denominator is both girls fought Julia Robinson, but Barber destroyed Robinson and Maverick took her to a decision. I don't think that's going to have too much insight in here. Again, is Barber going to go out there and knock out Maverick right away? I think that's a little bit more low percentage than when she went out there and fought a girl like Jillian Robinson, who just does not have a striking game. About better, I might jump on Maverick by KO if it's meaty. Man, that's I think you'll get a good number on that. Dave Bonilla, how about fight goes the distance bet? I don't mind it. I do think that both girls are durable, and I do think that we'll see this go for the full 15. Fight goes to decisions minus 195. So a little bit chalky. Might want to reconsider even taking advantage of that. Okay, saying Maverick way too athletic. She takes Barber down with ease. Mark my words, boys. That's kind of how I see it. I'm not going to say with ease. But yeah. Mbaye is saying Maverick only got 50% takedowns against Robertson, and she moves slow. Jillian took Maverick down too. Yep. Ethan Cruz, she was known as JJ too before she caught her. JJ. Why can't I figure out who the hell you're talking about? JJ Aldrich. Yeah. I did have a bet on JJ Aldrich that night. She was doing a damn good job in that first round as well. And Robertson was hitting Maverick on the feet too. It's a close fight. James, Tony saying, why is Barber still labeled a prospect? She had enough time. She had failed. She's still young. That's why I still think she's a prospect. Even Maverick too. Josh Jones thinks it's a close fight. I don't blame you for that thought. What event do you think is better, this one or last week's? I think this week's was going to be better. Juan Bonilla, Jillian got in on Macy's legs and couldn't get the takedown. Again, I don't think Jillian is the greatest takedowner. She's a good jiu-jitsu player, but I think she kind of lacks in her takedowns. Jamie Tran, just want to say congratulate you on the parlay one. Yes, my brother. Appreciate you. Peter Houghton reminded me that it's Aldrich. All right, so Maverick is the bet via decision. That's how I'm liking that fight to go down. All right, next up, we got Darren Elkins, plus 130 going up against Derek Minner, minus 150. And I do like the underdog here. Now, I never thought I'd really be saying that about any Darren Elkins fights, but I feel as though that there is some recency bias in this fight. Now, a lot of people are going to go out there and be like, oh, James Krause, Derek Minner is a mythical beast. He's a guy that's going to go out there and able to replicate that performance that he had against Charles Rosa time and time again. I disagree. I think that, and I think a lot of people know if you watch fighting for a while, that your cardio always is able to kind of sustain itself. Oh, I apologize. Your cardio is able to sustain itself when you're having success. Not always, but I felt in the case of Derek Minner against Charles Rosa, he was having massive amounts of success staying on top. He seemed to step ahead of Charles Rosa whenever Rosa did throw up submissions, which allowed him to stay out of bad positions. But he just was very successful in terms of grapple fucking Charles Rosa. I think that he's going to have a lot more resistance here against Darren Elkins, who may not skill-wise be better than Minner, but his heart his will, his determination, and his grittiness should be able to break a guy like Derek Minner, who, notoriously speaking, has gassed out in past fights when he doesn't get his way early in the fight. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out there and try to implement a similar game plan to what he did against Charles Rosa. Conserve that energy. Don't go balls to the wall looking for a submission early in this fight, and see if you can make it into the third round by going out there and out grappling your opponent. But Elkins does such a good job in terms of making it very tough to do exactly that, right? The Mirsad Bektic fight, obviously, he goes out there and wins in the third round. Bektic is a notorious gasser, and he does obviously have a huge drop in his work rate as fights go deeper into the fight, which is where we saw Elkins probably have his signature win. Chaz Skelly, very good grappler himself, solid wrestler. We saw Darren Elkins get the better of him. Darren Elkins still has the chops to go out there and have some good success. Derek Minner is a grappler. I do not think that he has the chops to go out there and knock out Darren Elkins. I think that he's going to struggle to do so. And I think in doing so, in trying to go out there and finish Elkins, it's only going to be for naught. Last time Darren Elkins got submitted, 2010, to the lightweight champion, Charles Rosa. So I don't think that Derek Minner is going to go out there and out grapple and get that submission over Elkins. He could have success in the first round, but I'd be surprised if he snatches up a choke of some sort on Darren Elkins. Elkins does a good job in terms of staying patient, waiting for his moment to explode and get out of bad positions, and more often than not, he gets out of bad positions. Obviously, the scar tissue and all that is a little bit of an issue, but I do think that Elkins will show that he's going to be the one pushing the pace, staying in Derek Minner's face, landing takedowns, and just grinding him out. And I think that's going to work for him very effectively in the second and third rounds. And there's a potential for an Elkins round 3 finish in this spot too. I do think that he can go out there and break Derek Minner. I do think that Derek Minner, there is a bunch of recency bias on it because of that James Krause performance last time around against Charles Rosa. But show me more before we truly buy into the Derek Minner hype in terms of him, making improvements in his game 30-something fights into his career. Elkins to win in round 4 plus 1,400, plus 1,800 at a couple spots. I'm going to be looking at that, but I do like Elkins in the spot, and I do think he can get a late finish as well. So I'm going with the underdog here. I do think the damage still has enough chops to go out there and give guys like Derek Minner some issues. Elkins obviously has a ton of wear and tear on him. 37 years old, has had a wealth of experience inside the UFC and obviously taken a ton of damage in that amount of time. But when he goes out there and implements his game plan to a T, just like he did against Eduardo Guerrigori, I think he should have success. So he will deal with resistance early here from Derek Minner, but I think it's only going to get easier for him to land takedowns and grind out Derek Minner and stay out of the way of those submission attempts. So I'm going Darren Elkins, either late finish or decision. Bring on the hate, because it is always the joke to go out there and shit on a guy like Darren Elkins. But I think you guys are going to be in for a bit of a rude awakening if you think that Derek Minner is an easy win in this spot. I do not know why my internet seems to be slowing down and the video might be fucking up, but hopefully the audio is good enough for you guys that it doesn't sway you guys away from the show here. Also, please do hit that like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. We got about 90 people watching at the moment, only 53 likes. The numbers don't add up there. We got 5 dislikes. Obviously going to be some haters in the chat. I get it. It's fine. Your boy's happy though. Your boy's successful. Can't hate on that. All right. Let's see. Josh Sergio, recency bias. Minner had that one solid showing against Rosa. Elkins is a dog in the distance in round 3. Intriguing. My thoughts exactly. Coming out chickens. Elkins is too much of a punching bag and wears damage so badly it sways the judges, like in the Landwehr fight. I still like my chances at this plus 130 line as well. Doughboy Nasty is saying Minner does still have gas tank issues. He didn't get tired because Rosa couldn't get up, so Minner just laid there. Indeed. He was dealing with a little bit of offense from Rosa off of his back, I won't lie, but I do think with Minner having as much success as he did in that fight, I think that gas tank was able to kind of stay away and didn't show itself in that fight, but I think it will show itself in this fight. If one thing that Darren Elkins does, it's push his opponents to their brink. The good fighters are able to endure it. The fighters that struggle will struggle in this fight, and I think that it's going to show with Derek Minner. I hate going against one of James Krause's guys. Krause is my guy now, but I hate to do it to him. Gary Philbrick, what up, Lock? Fitting Macy here. Don't know if she'll make the changes needed. I agree. Alex Ramirez in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by, my brother. Josh Ergo, Minner's got to finish Elkins in round 1. Otherwise, he's getting drowned. I absolutely agree. Belbetter's Elkins still at Alpha Male? I believe so. Yes, he is still at Alpha Male. Dan Goldstein, Elkins sub round 3. The James Krause effect won't help his cardio against a zombie like Elkins. Won't be able to hold him down. Will gas Elkins to Cosby cuddle Minner in the 3rd round. I agree. Nick Alexander in the trap. Appreciate you stopping by. About better Oliveira, Charles Oliveira. Yep. Minner edges 2 rounds if you don't finish Elkins with that cross game plan. I think his best success and only success will be in that 1st round. About better Minner a round 1 sub guy. Yeah. Minner round 1, fight goes to decision. If not, and split decision for Elkins or draw, with Minner getting a possible 10-8 first. I don't think it'll be that bad in round 1. Z's MMA saying, I don't think Elkins in round 4 is going to hit lock. Did I say round 4? You know I meant round 3. You know I meant round 3. Elkins round 3 plus 1,400. Elkins should have a size advantage. I think you might be correct there, actually. Let me get the actual statistics. I feel like they're roughly around the same height. 5'10", 71-inch reach from Darren Elkins. 5'7", 71-inch reach from Derek Minner. So we'll see Elkins with a 3-inch height advantage and same reach here. So maybe strength comes into play. But better saying you're a fantastic host. Appreciate that, my guy. David Bonilla, I like Elkins, but he is getting a little worn. True, but I don't think he has much to worry about in terms of taking damage here against a guy like, what's his face? Coming out chicken 5 to 6 are from Guru Spam account. Tom Rocco, hi. Will you have James Cross as a guest soon again? Thanks. Again, I don't want to push my luck with him. You know, I don't want to be that guy being like, hey, you want to come on a show this week? So I'm just waiting for enough time to pass before I ask him if he wants to come back on. But by all accounts, he's always down. So I will do my best to get him on whenever I can. MMA Aiden Minner round sub plus, I'm assuming round 1 sub plus 750. Other than that, I got Elkins. I agree. Robot Chicken Wings, Jamal Hill or Jimmy Crew. Robot Chicken Wings, you know better than this. We're talking about the fight this weekend, not the one that's coming up in a couple of weeks. But in terms of an early lean, I think I'm leaning Jamal Hill. But again, we saw what happens when he mixes up with somebody on the ground. Josh Shergill, I also don't think Rosa was a lightweight champion who subbed Elkins. Thought it was Charles Oliveira. That's what I meant. It was Charles Oliveira that subbed him in 2010. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Kyler Phillips going up against Raulian Paiva, minus 270 on Jesus, if that's what you guys want to call him. Kyler Phillips and plus 230 on Raulian Paiva. Now, interesting thing to note about this matchup, Raulian Paiva coming up a weight class, 135 pounds. If you guys remember the last time you scheduled a fight, he had a botched weight cut, couldn't make it to the cage. I don't know why the fuck he continuously tries to cut 125 pounds. There is somebody that I know from the Team Alpha Male team who, you know, Raulian Paiva is actually training up at Team Alpha Male now. I got in touch with one of the guys there, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on Paiva? And let me see if I can just, I'm not going to say who it is, but let me just quickly say their words, because I believe that they were right on the money in terms of what my thoughts on Paiva were as well. Yeah, I just asked him what his quick thoughts on Paiva was. He said no. Paiva is a solid dude. I'm excited to see how much better he looks at 135. He isn't small for the weight class. 125 pounds was stupid for him. Way too big for that weight. And he agrees. So I think Paiva is skilled. I think he has a ton of good striking skills, a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. Obviously, his his range and his distance management was very helpful for him when he's fighting these smaller flyweight guys. Now, if he's actually going to be making a home at 135 pounds, he's not going to have that advantage, but he's still a big, tall guy that really knows how to use his range quite well. I believe Kyler Phillips is going to be slightly taller than him. I believe they have the same reach as well, but I do think that Paiva can make it very difficult for excuse me. Ooh. I think it's going to be very difficult for for Phillips to do what Phillips does, right? We saw Phillips in his last fight against Song Yadong come as the underdog and pretty much just dance around Song Yadong and win a fight via decision. It seemed like, Song Yadong was, in hindsight, it seemed like Song Yadong was a perfect matchup for a guy like Kyle Phillips in terms of, we know what Song is, right? He's a bit of a bruiser, likes to go forward, throws combinations with the intentions of taking your head off, whereas Phillips likes to move, stick and move, and stay on the outside, land a couple kicks from the outside, land a couple combinations from the outside, and then get away from any trouble. And he did that very well against a guy like Song Yadong. Now all of a sudden he's the next coming of Jesus. I know he looks like fucking Jesus, but a lot of people are just riding his coattails a little bit too crazy, in my opinion. His line is absolutely skyrocketing. He opened up around minus 150, getting closer to the minus 300 range, which I think is absolutely crazy. I do think that Paiva still has some good chops, right? I thought he got robbed in the Kai Kara France fight. I thought he won that fight, but that fight was in the background, the backyard for Kai Kara France. So obviously, he's going to get the rub there, especially if the fight is even somewhat close. But I thought that Paiva did at least win 2 rounds in that fight. But then you can say it kind of evened itself out when he was able to get that victory over Zalgas Zhumagulov last time around. Now, a lot of people want to point to that fight and be like, look, Paiva getting touched up by Zhumagulov, who, obviously hasn't looked the greatest outside of his win over Jerome Rivera a couple weeks ago. But I do think that Paiva was compromised in that fight. I think he missed weight by a couple pounds. I thought he was compromised in that fight. He looked a little bit slower than he usually did, still dished out some good damage and had some good moments in that fight. But I felt like we didn't see the full and complete Paiva in that fight. I think we'll see full, complete Paiva in this spot. Now, he is taking this fight, like I said, on short notice, so that's a little bit of a concern. But I like the fact that he's doing it at 135 pounds. Shouldn't be killing himself making that type of weight, and then he should be able to perform to the best of his abilities come Saturday night. I think more often than not, you see Paiva being the one that pushes the pace, the one that is with the front foot. And optically speaking, that absolutely looks great to the judges, which is why I think he was able to win that fight against Zalgas Zhumagulov. Phillips seems to be more accepting of the back foot and allowing his opponent to kind of dictate the pace and the pressure of the fight. But sometimes that plays right into his hand in terms of countering correctly, landing his shots and getting out of the way before his opponent can land any damage of their own. But I think that Paiva brings a very diverse skill set in terms of the striking, great uppercut, hook combination that I love that he has, very long with the striking, like I said, nasty leg kicks as well, which is something that I think is going to slow down Phillips. And then again, he has that black belt in BJJ that should keep him out of any serious trouble if this fight should hit the ground. Phillips, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, could be a black belt at this time, but apparently he's one of those guys that at 3 years old was already on the mats doing jiu-jitsu and stuff because of his dad. But I think Paiva is being extremely overlooked in this fight. I do not by any means think that Kyle Phillips is a lock in this spot. Like, he was having trouble in the Gabriel Silva fight. Although he won all 3 rounds in that fight, there were instances where, Silva was kind of, marching him down, landing some good combinations of his own. But I do think that Paiva is a much better striker than what Gabriel Silva brought to the table that night. Again, the size here too should cause Phillips some trouble in terms of, he is roughly around his size. And, I don't know if Phillips will have ultimate success just playing on the outside and just waiting for his moments to close the distance and get his game going. I think Paiva will be able to land some good shots on him. Paiva is very durable. Obviously, the only time he lost inside the UFC via finish was to Rogerio Bontorin with that beautiful knee that Bontorin landed on his eyebrow, and you see his fucking eyebrow hanging off his face, which is why they ended up calling the fight that night. But I do think that Paiva has great durability. Does have an issue with getting hit a little bit too much, which is a little bit my concern. I'm not sure if Phillips has the power to knock out Paiva, but I think with Paiva kind of marching him down for the majority of this fight, optically speaking, this fight's going to look a lot closer than Paiva being at plus 230. I think that Paiva will make it very competitive, and I think he has a good shot of potentially even getting the judges nod in this fight. My concern is how much Phillips is going to go out there and try to implement the takedowns to try to truly sway the judges one way, especially his way. But historically speaking, we don't see him lean on it too much. He likes to strike. He likes to stay on the outside and do his work, do his spinning stuff and look all flashy. And I think that's why he's getting as much fan love as he is. I know people that were very confident in betting Song Yadong at chalk against a guy like Kyle Phillips, and Yadong didn't cash for them. I think that anybody that was betting Song Yadong is doing a disservice for themselves in terms of overlooking a plus 230 price tag on a guy as skilled as Raulian Paiva. I like what Paiva brings to the table. And all week, the last 2 days, I've kind of been throwing it up in the air in terms of whether I'm picking Phillips or Paiva. I've even gone to the extent of saying I'm picking Phillips to win, but I might be betting on Paiva. But at this point in time, I am going to stick my flag in the ground. I'm going to go with the Paiva side of things here. I do think he has the chops to make this a much more difficult fight than the odds indicate. And not to mention, I think he has a good chance to go out there and even win this fight. I don't like that he gets hit as much as he does, but he does dish out some decent damage in his own right. And again, the optics of him kind of marching down Phillips for the majority of this fight should have an effect on the judges. And again, I think Paiva will dish out some good damage. There could be a chance that he potentially hurts Phillips in this fight too. So don't write off Raulian Paiva. The guy is skilled. Don't let the Zhumagula fight, steer you wrong. I don't think that was the Paiva at the top of his game. I do think he was compromised in terms of the weight cut. And now with him not having to cut significant weight anymore, I think we'll see the best version of himself. And obviously it's only fitting as he's going up against his toughest competition in the UFC thus far as Collar Phillips. In my opinion, I think he's a very good guy. I think he has a very good fighter, I should say. I think he has top 10 potential. But stylistically speaking, I think this is a fight that Paiva could absolutely have success in and catch as a plus 230 dog. So I like Paiva here, and I will potentially have a bet on him later this week. So I'm not parlaying Collar myself. I'm staying away from the Collar side of things. I'm going to be looking at taking Paiva in this spot as a plus 230 dog. Kung Dao Chicken, I don't like that Paiva got outstruck by Zalgas, a smaller, shorter fighter with less reach against Kyler. He's no longer the taller man with the longer reach. Zalgas is very underrated in my opinion. He didn't have the greatest start to his UFC career. Obviously, like I said, big win against Rivera in his last time around. But Zalgas was a champion on the regional scene, man. The guy fought some legitimate competition and gave guys fits with his striking, and he did the exact same thing to Paiva. Yeah, Zalgas a little bit more hard-nosed with the striking, though, compared to Phillips, who kind of, again, dances around on the outside a little bit too much and almost allows his opponent to kind of, optically speaking, push the pace and stay in his face. Again, Song Yadong was not effective with it because I didn't think he let his offense go as much as he should have. And I feel like we're going to see Paiva actually let his offense go and make it a little bit difficult. Not to mention, I think the kicks are going to be a big thing here, especially if Paiva can lay on them early, slow down Phillips, and let his hands go after that. It can make a huge difference. MMA hedge funds probably gets hit too much is what concerns me. I agree that is definitely a concern here. Great Cornholio, what was the original odds for this fight? A lot of money must have come in on Phillips. Yeah, Phillips open around minus 150 in this fight. Z's MMA, Paiva is DQ sucking mad weight. He is a bit too stationary for Phillips, but this line is wide. Yep, I could see that. Kung Dao Chicken, Paiva also has horrible takedown defense, and Collar is smart enough to mix in the takedowns. I think I wouldn't say it's horrible. I think that Zalgas has some great entries. Phillips could probably replicate that as well. But Paiva did a good job in terms of nullifying the amount of damage he was taking and getting back to his feet pretty quickly after that. Dan Goldstein avoiding this fight with a swiftness. Paiva has sneaky good Muay Thai and is very experienced. The Homer Simpson factor is a concern though. Z's MMA, Paiva's right hand is tasty. KO is 7-1. Yeah, he has some great power in his hands and some nasty striking for sure. Let me look at these props real quick for you guys. I'm thinking Paiva decision. Over 2.5 is minus 230. That's a little bit juicy in my mind. Like too juiced, I should say. Paiva by KO, like Z was saying, plus 700, plus 800-ish. Paiva inside the distance, plus 500. Paiva by decision, plus 420. You guys know I love that plus 420 name or that number. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. Co-main event time. We got Aspen Lad minus 190 going up against Macy Chiasson plus 165. And it's not often you see Macy Chiasson at plus money, plus 165. If I'm not mistaken, this might be the first time that Macy Chiasson has actually been plus money in the UFC at all. And, this is a difficult one to break down. Both girls almost seem like a mirror image of one another, right? They like to use their physicality. They like to kind of drag their fights to their opponents into to the cage or the clinch and drag them to the ground and kind of just outmuscle them. But what happens when both of them want to do the same thing, right? For some reason, it seems like the public and the odds makers are heavily favoring Lad in this fight, but there are a couple of things that people need to be aware of before investing in Lad. Obviously, coming off of reconstructive surgery for her knee, I believe it was. She's been off for as long as she has. I believe it's been 2 years now. A long time since we've seen her inside the cage. And Macy Chiasson obviously getting better on a fight-to-fight basis. Striking, kind of even in this fight. Both girls have some decent power. Chiasson has definitely put some women down with their power in the past. But I think it truly becomes or comes down to who has more success in the grappling and clinch exchanges. That's who's going to win this fight. That is their bread and butter whenever they go out there and fight. I do think that Lad will have success in terms of dragging this fight to the ground and getting the better of Chiasson, who, metrically speaking, I believe is bigger than Lad in this spot. But bulk-wise and mass-wise and actual strength-wise, I do think that Lad will come out as the stronger woman in this fight. I do also think that Chiasson has a little bit of a cardio issue, and that's only going to show when she does have when she's being truly pushed. Now, she lost the first round against Marion Renault and then completely changed it up. Still a very close second round against Renault, other than that big punch that Chiasson landed that swayed the round. And obviously, that was the most significant shot of that round. But I do think that Lad could cause some issues here for Chiasson, especially if Chiasson wants to kind of overcommit to the striking. I could see Lad switching or changing levels, landing a takedown, and grinding out that fight from the top position. Very tough fight for me to call. I don't want to pick either side here. I'm not a big Macy Chiasson believer, and I don't think that Lad is worth this price tag, given what we know about her layoff and the injury that she's coming back from. Again, both women, mirror images of each other. They both want to go out there and outwork and outmuscle their opponents. Who's going to get it better of it? The woman that's coming back from a surgery or the woman that's kind of been active and showing improvements on a fight-to-fight basis? I do ultimately lean with the fighter that has more experience, higher level of competition, and having the amount of success as she's had. Aspen Ladd should win this fight. She should be able to get the takedowns and should be able to grind out Chiasson from that top position. So yeah, I do like Ladd in the spot. Again, cardio, experience, slight grappling advantage. Again, that we have to see it in play before we can truly, ride off into the sunset and say that's exactly what the case is. But I do think that Ladd will win this fight. I think she wins by decision. Let's see what the props are looking like for this fight. Under 2.5 plus 160. Fight goes to decision minus 165. My fight over 2.5 minus 185. I think that's my favorite spot on this fight. Yeah, I like Ladd and Ladd by decision. No strong read here though. Okay, so I'm all in on Phillips. Sorry, like it's fine. We don't always have to agree. We do not always have to agree. Peter Houghton all over Ladd in her high voice. Justin Chi is saying Aspen's mom, though. Yeah, I've been seeing a couple clips of her go around, and I kind of get it. I get it. Josh Sugar, Ladd, ground and pound, TKO, Renault almost finished her as well. Danny Casing under 2.5. Seems like you guys like the under here. I think it gets dragged out, but we'll see. Dan Goldstein, Macy wins the handsome contest between the two, but Aspen Ladd comes out to the last of the Mohicans theme song. Tough choice, tough choice. Kangdao Chicken Paiva has 80% takedown defense rate, but he did get out wrestled by Kai Kara. I don't think it was a huge out wrestle by Kai Kara for sure, though. Justin T, indeed. Uncle Wheezy in the chat. That's my guy right there. Shout out, brother. Ladd has fought the better competition for sure. The layoff is a bit concerning. I do agree. Kung Dao Chicken saying, don't like the layoff and serious injuries Ladd went through. MCL and ACL are pretty life-changing for an athlete. I agree. MMA Triple J in the chat. That's my dude right there. Appreciate it. And reminding you guys, please do hit that like. Let's see what we're at. We have 88 live viewers, and we're still at 64 likes. 7 dislikes. 7 haters. 7 haters. All good. All right, let's move on. Like I said, I got Ladd decision, but no strong read in that fight. That brings us to our main event. We got Corey Sandhagen minus 190 going up against TJ Dillashaw plus 165. The return of the snake, TJ Dillashaw. Really looking forward to this. Now, a lot of people are just completely writing off the fact that Dillashaw, he's not on steroids anymore. He's not going to look the same at all. And I've been kind of yesterday, I was kind of hammering home the fact that apparently USADA did go back and like test his samples from his past fights, leading all the way back to the Rafael Assunção fight, which Sun Xiao fight, which I believe I can't recall exactly when that was, but it was the second Sun Xiao fight, and they couldn't find anything. Now, it seems like from what I've been seeing on Twitter, and people might just be Twitter MDing this shit, but the half-life of EPO is not that long. So they should, if they didn't catch it back then, they're not going to catch it now because it's definitely long gone at that point in time. So maybe he was on EPO back then. Maybe. Obviously, it definitely helped in allowing him to push a pace and have cardio for full 5 rounds to go out there and dismantle Renan Barão the way that he did, beat Joe Soto the way that he did, just push that pace that he was able to push. But I think people are too quickly discrediting Dillashaw on the spot. This guy was once seen as the bantamweight GOAT. He went out there and absolutely destroyed Renan Barão, the guy who at the time was dismantling everybody. And I'm not going to be one of those guys that are like, oh, look at Barão now. We know he's a fraud. But like, he wasn't a fraud back then. He was absolutely putting work on Uriah Faber and Eddie Wineland and Michael McDonald and all these guys that he's finishing. But then he runs into TJ Dillashaw, and Dillashaw goes out there and absolutely beats his ass. TJ Dillashaw goes out there and beats Cody Garbrandt, another guy that seemed untouchable at the time, seemed to crack the code of Dominic Cruz, beating him convincingly, and then defending the title against Dillashaw and losing. Obviously, Dillashaw did have a loss to Dominic Cruz. Close fight, could have gone either way. Corey Sandhagen, obviously very good footwork, good movement, good striking of his own unorthodox striking style. Still a very top-level prospect, I believe. And this is his toughest fight to date. So first and foremost, I think this line is disrespectful. Minus 190 for Sandhagen. I think that's serious hype tax. Obviously, his win over Frankie Edgar, 25 seconds flying knee knockout, probably knockout of the year. And then obviously, having the run that he had, the Marlon Moraes spinning wheel kick finish there. He's the one staying active while TJ Dillashaw has been on the sidelines helping guys like Juan Archuleta and Club Swanson, those guys over there at the training lab. He's just been in the backgrounds, waiting for his moment to jump. And now he can finally jump and get inside the cage. And I think that we're going to be quickly reminded why TJ Dillashaw was one of the best bantamweights out there ever. I think he could replicate, classic Dillashaw performances. But I think the difference here, and I'm glad the fact that he's actually talked about this, is he knows he has an advantage in the grappling realm, and he has to exploit that to have true success in this matchup. And I think that's what we'll see him have. There is the narrative out there that TJ Dillashaw is chinny. Okay, yeah, he got finished by Henry Cejudo. Very hard hitter, especially when he really started to trust his hands and let them go. Got rocked and dropped by Cody Garbrandt in the first round of their fight. But I do want to slightly dispel the knockout power that I believe that a lot of people think that Corey Sandhagen has. Don't get me wrong. He hits hard, but I think his success from the striking and finishing guys via TKO is coming more so from him setting up traps and just having success and kind of goading these guys into certain positions. So let's go back to his first UFC fight. Body shot KO over Austin Arnett. Skeptical competition, beautifully placed body shot. Good work to him there. Yuri Alcantara survives a hellacious first round where Yuri Alcantara gasses himself out, and then he gets a ground and pound finish in the second round. Good win from there. Arm bars Mario Bautista, beats John Lineker over 15 minutes, beats Rafael Assunção over 15 minutes, loses to Aljamain Sterling. Wheel kick knockout over Marlon Moraes that was bewildered, started to slow down, it seemed like already, and then he wheel kicks him and gets him out of there. And then the Frankie Edgar fight, we already know what Frankie Edgar's stamina and durability issues are like at this point in his career. So I'm not too blown away by saying, Frankie Edgar getting knocked out is something that should make us concerned about the possibility of Corey Sandhagen knocking out TJ Dillashaw. So could he clip and catch TJ? Possibly, but I don't think that he's as fragile as most people are making him out to be. And that's where I have an issue with people kind of just writing off TJ Dillashaw. Don't forget about a guy that is very high level, right? Yeah. Yeah, my pick is going to be Dillashaw here. I do think that he gets the better of the grappling exchanges, which will help him kind of win some rounds in the spot. I do think that he actually even wins this fight via decision. I think he does this for at least 3 out of 5 rounds. Sandhagen is a very skilled opponent. Don't get me wrong. I think he has a bright future, but stylistically speaking, and how he matches up against Dillashaw, and the fact that Dillashaw will have a grappling advantage here, I like Dillashaw on spot. I think that he will be able to do the TJ Dillashaw thing and mix in a couple takedowns, and it should kind of stifle Corey Sandhagen in terms of setting traps and finding his openings and just finding that spot to put TJ Dillashaw away. So I honestly think that Sandhagen needs to be more reliant on getting the finish in this fight than Dillashaw, because I think that Dillashaw can win more minutes here compared to Sandhagen. So I do like Dillashaw. I don't get the disrespect other than the fact that people have only been watching Sandhagen for the last couple, well, at least the last 2 years. And then there's obviously that negativity around Dillashaw due to the EPO and, all the bullshit that he went through. But when we're betting, number one rule is don't get emotions involved. Emotions hinder logic. And logically speaking, this fight should be closer aligned. So I like Dillashaw here. I like Dillashaw by decision as well. I'd be surprised if he knocks out Sandhagen, to be honest. I'd be a little surprised if he actually subs Sandhagen as well. Dillashaw by sub is plus 1400. Dillashaw by knockout is plus 320. But the spot that I like, Dillashaw by decision, plus 415. Excuse me. I think that's the spot. So I like Dilla plus 165 via decision. Peter Houghton is saying play is Dilla or a pass. I agree. Alex Weber saying, have I spoke on the prediction guru situation? I have a couple times. A little bit bummed. I don't think he has as many burners as people make it seem out to be. But I still did lose a little bit of respect considering that dude was just trying to game the system and get what he was doing, but I'm not a fan of it. MMA hedge funds, the Dillashaw Shawshank redemption fight. I agree. Okay, saying no bet, but we'll be rooting for the snake in the grass. Interesting. Henry Wells saying, Henry Wells, Dillashaw, TJ should mix and grappling here. I agree. Kung Dao Chicken saying, can't trust any of Dillashaw's previous performance since EPO is not the first drug you just jump into. He was probably using other PEDs as well before EPO. I'm going to be honest with you, Kung Dao Chicken. I think 95% of the roster is using something in some form, and they're just working out ways in terms of how they can get away with it. C's MMA is saying TJ needs to wrestle. That is obvious as hell. I think Corey is a better striker, roids or no roids. Yes. I think he's a better striker in terms of being able to set up traps and just kind of taking advantage of fighters once he's able to kind of set that trap. But yeah, I think Dillashaw is good enough to kind of stay away from those and then eventually get his grappling going. Kung Dao Chicken is saying all the red flags are there on Dillashaw, older, off PEDs, injury, long layoff, potentially. But I don't think that you should be writing him off to the point of making him a plus 165 dog. Alex Weber, none of TJ's wins are against any relevant contenders. At this point in time, yeah. But back then, he was whooping them all. MMA Aiden, TJ said in an interview that he trained with Corey and turned down a lot of fights for his comeback and chose Corey because he likes the matchup. Apparently, the talk of the town is the fact that Corey got the better of TJ in those training situations. But again, it's completely different once you actually get into the cage. Z's MMA is saying he's a lot faster than TJ. Yeah, he just have a speed advantage. I agree. Urban Man in New Jersey is saying in 5 rounds I can see TJ not finishing Aljo's sloppy seconds. Yeah, I think it's going to take him a decision to win this fight. Great Cornholio is saying training partners are saying that Corey gave Dillashaw problems in sparring, but we heard that story before in Cody and Team Alpha Male. We've seen Dillashaw in a fight is different than sparring. Absolutely. MMA Kappa is saying Dillashaw is on road to some karma via Cesar Sandhagen. Kung Dao Chicken, have you watched Dan Hooker's interview when he was training with TJ and Corey at Elevation? He said Corey was lighting up TJ during sparring as a 2-0 amateur. Yep. MMA hedge funds are saying official prediction. TJ wakes up in a pool of blood and everyone says I still like the value in TJ at that price. That might be me. Again, I'm not putting any serious money on Dillashaw on this spot. Don't get me wrong. This is a fight that I don't really want to have much to do with in terms of serious money, considering the the unknowns, right? What is TJ truly going to look like once he gets inside the cage? And that's what's keeping me off of actually playing Dillashaw on this spot. MMA isn't a dogger pass. I don't like that Sandhagen's 30% takedown defense and Dillashaw's great striking too. Dillashaw could mix it up to a decision, which is plus 400. Absolutely. Maybe the Dillashaw decision is where I take a poke on if I take anything at all. The only knowable with Dillashaw right now after 2 years is he's 35 and a half now and at bantamweight, but I can't bet Sandman. The bias hype tax factor is too great for me to pass. Pass. I agree, Dan. But better. I don't know if I'm swayed on the Dillashaw side. I question how Dillashaw has evolved. This is not a Mario Renault Tate retirement fight. Absolutely. I was going to bring out Tate in the fact that, look, we saw her still come back and have a great performance even after 5 years. So imagine what a guy with the skill set of TJ Dillashaw brings to the table. But Corey Sandhagen is not Marion Renault. That's the difference here. And so I didn't want to bring that up. But better saying Dillashaw jumping in the number one contender fight. Yeah, can you blame him, right? Like he got stripped of the title. Never lost the title. So Uncle Weezy, if TJ fights like he did in the Lineker fight, uses his wrestling and top control, he could grind out a decision over Sandhagen and his 30% takedown defense. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way that I'm looking at this fight too. Justin T, any bet on Dillashaw yet? Half unit? No, I'm not. Again, I might just take a poke on his decision line. That's about it. Greg Cornholio, possible Dillashaw round 5. I don't think so. Gary Philbrick would love to see Sandhagen win here and fight Yan for the bout. Yeah, that would be great. Every time you pick a 36-year-old fighter to win and I pick them to lose, I win lock. Thank you. All right. Let's see if it happens again this weekend. And Dillashaw's 35, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think it pertains to this matchup. Yeah, he's 35. He turned 35 in February. Kung Nao Chicken, do you think the fight will go to decision? I don't think Sandhagen or Dillashaw EPO has gas for 5 rounds. I think it goes to a decision with Dillashaw winning the decision, to be honest. 50 grand, Hagen will clip TJ with the spinning wheel kick and then finish him off with a flying knee. That will be a sight to see. David Bonilla, great takes as usual. Appreciate it. Appreciate you stopping by, my guy. Richard Perez, passing this on Hagen and Dillashaw, but lean Dillashaw. Agreed. That's pretty much how I feel about this fight. Okay, talking about the Elkins fight. Oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. We'll see. We'll see. Go ahead. Take Mr. Derek Miller. Let's see how that goes. Urban Minute, New Jersey. If TJ knock Corey out in 1 minute, will he, without question, be behind Peter Yan for the title? He'll fight him right away. If TJ wins this weekend, he's fighting Yan next. I wouldn't be surprised if that's well, other than the rematch of Aljo and Yan. Half year on TJ by decision. I like that. Dan Goldstein plus 5,000. TJ Dillashaw named his business to troll us all. Belt better. Okay, your boxing boy went to a draw. All right, that's pretty much it. That was the main event. I'll quickly go down the card for you guys one more time just to give you guys my predictions. I like Belbita over Goldy. I like Eubanks over Reed. I like Arce over Ewell. I like Yanez over Costa. I really like Heinisch over Imavov. I like Soriano over Allen. I like Williams over Gall, but zero confidence in that fight. I like Maverick over Barber. I like Elkins over Minner. I like Paiva over Phillips ever so slightly that I definitely have to take a shot at plus 230. I like Ladd over Chiasson, and then I like Dillashaw over Sandhagen. But again, tough to be super confident in that fight considering the unknowns of what TJ is going to look like this weekend. Ryan Alverson is saying, Locke, what do you think of a max bet on Fiziev when his line drops against Bobby Green? Yeah, I think Fiziev rolls in that fight. I think he absolutely smashes up Bobby Green there. Z's MMA saying my bankroll wants TJ versus Yan to happen. Yeah, I think Yan absolutely kills him in that fight. Dan McCline to plus 425, not bad. But better saying, man, like if I wasn't confused before, I know. Such a tough fight to fucking break down. Appreciate the love, Goldstein. About better saying, appreciate all the information and the positive interactions. You know, that's all I'm about here. All right. That's a wrap on the show. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so nothing coming out. Maybe I'll have my pre-recorded show come out tomorrow in case you guys want to hear my thoughts once again. A lot of people love that show where I just, I don't converse with the chat or anything. It's all pre-recorded, so I'm going to drop that either later tonight or tomorrow. Thursday should be good for propping you up, 8 p.m. Eastern. Friday, Ultimate Wayne Show. Don't have the cast yet, but I will announce that as soon as I can. And then obviously Saturday. No, actually, you know what? I will be doing a Fight Day live stream on Saturday, but it will be a little bit earlier in the day as I do have plans for that day. I won't be watching the card live, but I will. I will be sure to do a Fight Day live chat earlier before I end up leaving for the day. Juan Benila saying, you see Soriano being a fight does go to the decision spot. Absolutely. Excuse me. I do think that's a fight doesn't go to the decision spot. All right, that's a wrap. If you guys haven't already, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. Best way to support your boy is just simply doing that. So I appreciate the love and support as always. And yeah, I'll see you guys throughout the week. Good luck on your bets. And yeah, that's about it. Peace out.